President Trump has taken several steps to deregulate AI this year. Trump has eliminated many limits on exporting AI computer chips. He has fast-tracked the construction of data centers that power AI development, and he has pushed legislation that gave government approval to a popular form of cryptocurrency. And just this month, the president signed an executive order to overturn restrictions that states try to set on AI and greenlit sales of a more powerful chip to China. All the while, lawmakers have been warning about the dangers of this emerging technology. In fact, Senator Bernie Sanders talked about that just this morning. Watch.
Multi-billionaires are pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into implementing and developing this technology. What is their motive? Do you think they're staying up nights worrying about working people and how this technology will impact those people? They are not. They are doing it to get richer and even more powerful.
Joining us now is Kevin De Liban, attorney and founder of TechTonic Justice, a nonprofit dedicated to supporting low-income people harmed by artificial intelligence. Kevin, it's good to have you with us. Let me just start, and we're going to dig into all of this, but let me just start with what we just heard there from Senator Bernie Sanders and get your thoughts on those comments. How will the most vulnerable in our society and among us be affected by this AI boom?
Well, thank you all very much for having me. And I think the answer is simple. They already are being affected. People's economic opportunities are being hurt by AI at every turn. It's being used to cut people off Medicaid. It'll be soon used to deny people medical coverage under Medicare. It's limiting people's ability to get SNAP. It's hurting people's wages. It's forcing people out of housing opportunities and job opportunities. Basically, everywhere already, in every key life area, people are already suffering, and so it's just going to continue intensifying that way if left unchecked.
Kevin, I think you and I first spoke almost 10 years ago when you were taking a case against the state of Arkansas. You were a legal aid attorney at the time. And the case was related to the fact that the state was using an algorithm to basically deny people Medicaid benefits. You won that case. I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about what the lessons were from that go around. Back at the time, I think we weren't using the words artificial intelligence to describe that kind of phenomenon. But what are the lessons from that particular case for how you think those who were concerned about this use of AI should be challenged or at least regulated today?
Yeah, and just to provide a little bit of context, the state was using an algorithm to decide how much home-based care that elderly and disabled people should receive in their home so that they can stay out of nursing facilities. And the state did this totally haphazardly. They didn't have anybody who could understand how the algorithm worked, explain how it worked, why it worked that way, anything else. And that was just presaging all the problems that we're seeing around AI-based decision-making now. You don't know what's happening to you. If you figure it out, you have no idea of how it works. You don't know how to fight it. And there's no real accountability mechanisms in place so that the people who decide to use or develop these technologies end up facing any sort of significant harm at a scale that compares to the harm that they're inflicting on poor and vulnerable folks. And so I think that's the lessons to take away, is that nobody is using this responsibly, nobody plans to, and the incentives are not there to do it. So we have to make sure that societal incentives are set up so that people don't get away willy-nilly with destroying people's lives through the harmful use and irresponsible use of this technology.
Who are the lawmakers who you think are ready to actually have that conversation? Obviously, we played a clip of Bernie Sanders speaking about this earlier, but there are so many challenges. I mean, there is the sort of challenge to get members of Congress to wrap their head around the technology in the first place when it comes to the questions of regulation. But then, as you mentioned here, kind of thinking down all the routes and possibilities of the different harms that could come to people, the questions raised by about, you know, are we going to eventually have to institute some kind of universal basic income? Like if there are masses in this country who have no way of getting jobs, I mean, I can go on, but are there figures who you think are actually ready? Or is part of the major problem here that we actually have lawmakers who are not prepared for a moment that isn't just coming, it's already here?
I would say this, the knowledge is available, right? There's folks like me who are kind of do-gooders in this world that have been tracking, documenting, and fighting with success the irresponsible use of AI to make decisions about people's lives, right? So it's not a question of the lack of knowledge. It might be a question of the lack of incentives. I think part of the problem of the political situation, there are a few senators in particular who've been out front on this, and a lot of state-based lawmakers as well. But the problem is the incentives, right? Is like, both parties want to be in bed with big tech to the extent that they can be, and that supports campaign stuff. Folks are afraid of being seen and cast in a way that doesn't support unbridled innovation. So there are problems, like there are incentive problems, but it's definitely not a knowledge problem. I think it's much more a will problem. And the thing is there's things that we can do to overcome big tech's influence. It's a question of getting that ground level support built so that we convince folks to do the right thing.
Kevin, we may talk about this more at greater lengths in the months ahead, but just give me the reason what you think animates these big tech people, that they've gotten such a bad reputation now. And some actually genuinely see some of these people driving this technology as motivated by something sinister. I don't want to say evil, but is it just simply the potential of corporate profits that are promising to them? Is it something more sinister than that? You follow this, you probably know some of these people's personalities. What is animating this rush in their eyes?
I mean, I think it's sort of it's just a single-minded dedication on doing something new and big and disruptive and getting richer themselves. I don't think that many people are aware of or concerned about the harms that people suffer in an ongoing way, and structural problems like increasing inequality, systemic inequality and injustice. And the fact that for many, many folks, it is beyond the pale of a dream to be able to have healthcare that's affordable, to be able to have a decent job, to have decent, safe, affordable housing, and sort of have your kids go to school in a way that they're not punished at every turn and surveilled constantly by artificial intelligence. And so I think it's a bunch of really rich people thinking of themselves, thinking of greed, thinking of legacy, and wanting to perpetuate kind of structures that benefit them already without any regard for what would need to change to make a more just world.
Yeah, I think that there is a universe in which the techno-optimism can be borne out with better outcomes, but we need to think carefully about how we set up the regulations and the strictures around this technology and its use so that we get the good things out of AI and not the bad. Kevin De Liban, thank you so much for joining us tonight.